Yes, this today's headline says, Southern Kaduna farmers paint faces black, march to traditional ruler's palace barefoot over herders' attacks. This is today's headlines. Our Rise TV crew members have reacted to Ted Cruz calling on sanction on people who are to be held accountable for Christians going through persecution through insecurity in Nigeria. We all know that recently the Western media started talking about the level of insecurity in Nigeria and how it affects Christians. So many people have come out to refute that, saying that there is no attack on Christians. But guys, we all know what is happening in Benue State. Many churches in Benue State have shut down. Many people have been displaced, and we know Benue is a Christian environment. We also know what is happening in Plateau State, where even the governor came out to say that 64 communities have been taken over by these attackers. Now, you go to Southern Kaduna, we all saw the level of attacks by these Fulani herders on Southern Kaduna. These are all Christian environments. Now, remember the Chibok girls. Do you even know that the majority of those Chibok girls are Christians? Because Chibok is like a Christian environment. And that was where they targeted. We know how churches have been burned, schools have been burned. So many people have been affected. Yes, it's affecting the Muslims. It's also affecting the Christians. But why that of Christians are more or is more pronounced is because, you know, when this Boko Haram started in the north, some people call them freedom fighters. Some people call them, like, we were told that Buhari said that any attack on Boko Haram is attack on the north. They welcomed it. But guess what? This thing moved to affect Christians that don't even know the origin of, you know, how all this started. Now Ted Cruz is hammering on, you know, sanction. This is what he tweeted. He said, officials in Nigeria are ignoring and even facilitating the mass murder of Christians by Islamic jihadists. It's time to hold those responsible accountable. My Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act will target these officials with powerful sanctions and other tools. That is Senator Ted Cruz speaking. Now, one might be asking, are Christians actually being persecuted by this jihadist group? Now take a look at what the last APC government said. This is coming from Lai Mohammed. He said, Boko Haram targeting Christians to trigger religious war. You see it? And here again, the same Lai Mohammed said, Nigeria government explains why Boko Haram targets Christians. This coming from Sahara Reporters. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said terrorists were targeting Christians and their communities in order to trigger religious war in Nigeria. So, what makes it lie? Why are they saying that Ted Cruz is exaggerating? We've seen recently, the very dark man was in Benue, he was in Jos, where people were even burnt to charcoal. And these are all Christian, mainly Christian communities. And when they say Christians are being targeted, people are saying it's a lie. Anyway, guys, I'm going to allow you to take a look at how Arise TV crew members have all analyzed this, and let me know your honest reaction to all this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification. Now take a look.
Presidential spokesman Bayo Onanuga over the weekend slammed U.S. Senator Ted Cruz over allegations that Nigerian officials are facing the mass killing of Christians by Islamist jihadists, describing the claim as malicious, contrived lies against the country. According to Onanuga's statement posted on X, Nigeria does not have a religious war, and terrorists operating in the country kill without discrimination based on faith. Onanuga explained that the degraded Boko Haram terrorists operating on the fringes of Nigeria's northeast target everyone, including farmers and soldiers, while emphasizing that bandits in the northwest have killed worshippers inside mosques, demonstrating that Christians are not being specifically targeted. He then went on to assert that Nigeria maintains religious harmony, directly challenging Senator Cruz to stop the malicious lies. Well, Senator Ted Cruz's office in their legislative proposal unveiled last week outlined plans to hold Nigerian officials accountable through powerful sanctions and other tools, claiming that state officials are ignoring and even facilitating violence against Christians. And I'll take this tweet. This person, in response to Onanuga, says, Onanuga's outburst at Senator Cruz was more defensive than diplomatic, while Cruz exaggerated Nigeria indeed faces a perception crisis rooted in selective justice and poor governance, not pure religious hatred. Denying religious tension outright sounds disingenuous. A smarter response would have been to present facts, not fury, show evidence of interfaith peace efforts and prosecutions of all offenders. Patriotism isn't shouting lies. It's proving them wrong with truth and transparency. Dr. Bati, I'd like to come to you with this comment. I'd like for you to unpack these stories. We started off with, the defense by Garba Shehu saying that, Jonathan was lying, and we saw taking reactions to former President Goodluck Jonathan's denial of reports suggesting he accused the late President Muhammadu Buhari of having connections with Boko Haram, insisting his remarks at a recent book launch were grossly misrepresented by sections of the media. Well, according to a statement released by Jonathan's special advisor on media and public affairs, Ikechukwu Eze, the former president never suggested, implied, or insinuated that Buhari had any connection with the terrorist group or supported them in any form. Well, Eze explained that Jonathan's comments during Friday's presentation of Scars, a book written by former Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo, were meant to illustrate the deviousness and manipulative strategies employed by Boko Haram in their early years, specifically referencing a well-documented episode when various factions falsely claimed to represent the terrorist group and invoked names of prominent Nigerians as possible mediators without their knowledge or consent. Well, let's take a listen to the former president.
Because we tried different options. I don't need to give a sermon. It will look as if I am trying to defend my own government. That will come up later when we will document, we'll write our books. But I believe we took different options, we set different committees. We tried our best within that 5 years that I was there. I believe late Buhari too must have tried his best, because one of the committees we set up then, the Boko Haram nominated Buhari to lead their team to negotiate with government. So I was feeling that, if they nominated Buhari to represent them and have a discussions with the government committee, then when Buhari took over, it could have been an easy way to negotiate with them, and they would have handed over their guns, but it was still there till today.
Well, before Jonathan's clarification, former Buhari spokesman Garba Shehu had dismissed the original claim as false and politically motivated, pointing out that Buhari himself was a target of Boko Haram attacks, including a July 2014 bombing in Kaduna that killed at least 82 people shortly after he left a location. The controversy has also drawn attention to Jonathan's tenure from 2010 to 2015, when Boko Haram significantly escalated attacks, including the April 2014 abduction of 276 schoolgirls from Chibok. Well, let me take a portion of Garba Shehu's tweet. And Garba Shehu wrote in part, well, Boko Haram did not nominate Buhari as their mediator to be president in 2027. Goodluck Jonathan should look for another story to tell Nigerians. We are compelled to make a response to a terrible statement made on the late President Muhammadu Buhari by his predecessor in office, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, to the effect that Boko Haram had nominated him to represent them in a dialogue with government. If this is a campaign statement towards his bid for the presidency in 2027, we want to say to him that, Mr. Jonathan, you are making a false start. Well, I'll take a reaction to this tweet, and this is from Sam Pestro, who wrote, Mr. Garba Shehu, your statement comes across as carrying some bitterness towards His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan. He never said the late Buhari accepted. He only stated that he was nominated. Whatever is behind this bitterness, I sincerely pray you find peace. Here are the facts to confirm that Jonathan was indeed right in his statement. And he pulled up, newspaper clippings from the Vanguard where they wrote Boko Haram names Buhari, 5 others as mediators. Another excerpt there says Buhari once appointed mediator by Boko Haram doing nothing to rescue abducted schoolgirls. I believe this was an excerpt about 4 years ago. Before those excerpts from, various newspapers saying that, Boko Haram did nominate the late former president as a negotiator. And then the response from Ononuga to Senator Ted Cruz. Your response, please.
Okay.
And I'll come to you. 2
things there. One, President Jonathan had spoken in the context of Nigeria's security challenges. Yeah. Now, what Ikechukwu, the spokesperson for President Jonathan, said is that his comments were taken out of context. He was trying to convey, referring to Boko Haram incident and, dilemma, that, look, the problem is so intractable that the Boko Haram is a devious organization. It's a manipulative organization. As Ikechukwu said in the rejoinder to Malam Garuba Shehu. And that part of their mischief was that at a point, when the Jonathan government was trying to solve the problem, they even said President Buhari will be the one that will negotiate on their behalf. And President Jonathan raised a pertinent question. President Buhari eventually became president. Now, during his own tenure, if he was actually the patron of Boko Haram, he would have been able to ask them to just, say, please give me peace, allow me to reign. So I think that the more fundamental issue is about the issues discussed by General Rabo in his book about the security challenges that Nigeria faces. I think that is what we should all focus upon. President Jonathan could not solve the problem. He inherited it. Before him, almost 10 years before him, the problem had been there. The problem is still there today, even under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And that is why, we may focus on the idea, which has been expressed, I think, by General Irabo himself, that the government of the day needs to declare a state of emergency on the problem of Boko Haram. But what state of emergency do they need to declare again? With all the reports about the billions that have been allocated to the security agencies over the years to solve the same problem. So there's need for greater introspection, not partisanship, not politics, not my Mercedes is bigger than yours. I think the clarification by President Jonathan, should be adequate. But the bigger problem remains, which is the focus of his commentary at that particular occasion. He, in fact, went further to say that one of the things that he continues to regret is the Chibok girls incident, which occurred under his watch. So it was just a generally fair comment, not an attempt to denigrate his successor, President Muhammadu Buhari. And I'm sure that should be very clear by now to Garuba Shehu, trying to remain loyal to his boss. But no politics about it. The clarification should be adequate. As for Mr. Ononuga, Mr. Ononuga says Senator Ted Cruz is wrong. Well, it's not just Senator Ted Cruz that has made this comment. There was this other guy, what's his name again? Amsha or what? Somebody else granting a TV interview had also said, if you go to Nigeria, they are killing all the Christians. We discussed it, I believe, last week. And we made the point that, look, the argument that has been made clear consistently by government is that we are all victims in this environment. Muslims get killed, Christians get killed, traditionalists get killed, but, the Office of Religious Freedom in the State Department in the United States had once placed Nigeria on the blacklist as one of those countries where Christians are being persecuted. But, the argument on the part of government is that this is not the case. Mm-hmm. And I said, the last time we discussed it, that indeed, we are all victims. But the issues that we have had in Jos, in Plateau, that we have had in Benue, that we have had in Southern Kaduna, the celebrated event that we have had in a war, attacks on churches, we seem to give the impression that churches, Christians are the main targets. And increasingly, Catholic priests get kidnapped.
Yes.
And, these kidnappers, they ask for ransom. So that will give the impression internationally. Even when you look at the Chibok girls, most of them in the register were Christians. They were of Christian parentage. So Christians now feel that they are being persecuted in the environment. But the residual point is that the Nigerian government has a responsibility to make sure that nobody is a victim on the basis of faith, religious affiliation, because Section 42 of the 1999 Constitution is unequivocal in saying that nobody should be discriminated against either on the basis of religion, belief, association, or circumstances of birth. And that fundamental human right applies to all of us, whatever faith we may profess to.
All right. In another development, Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has boldly declared that the era of branding Nigeria as the most corrupt country in the world has ended, urging citizens to stop bad-mouthing the nation and embrace national pride as international perceptions shift positively under her husband's administration. The First Lady made the comments during her official working visit to Gombe State, where she commissioned several health facilities, including the newly established Federal Medical Center in Kumo. The First Lady emphasized that the world now views Nigeria as a nation of opportunity and rising global relevance owing to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's ongoing reforms.
In the spirit of Mr. President, that his speech was different, calling on us and Nigerians, stop bad-mouthing your nation. Gone are the days when they say, oh, Nigeria is the most corrupt country. You won't hear that again. When people, even when I go abroad, when they hear you're from Nigeria, everybody's interested. They want to come to Nigeria. Nigeria is the next destination. We have to be proud. What we have to do is rise up and build. I'm 65 years old now. I pray I live long. But I'm working so hard so that when my husband finishes tenure in office, then me too, I can walk around safely. That is what drives me to do the work.
Well, her comment has garnered a lot of reactions, but in their recognition of the First Lady's efforts, the Lamido Ako conferred upon her the traditional title of Queen Warrior of Ako Emirate, honoring her commitment to championing the interests of vulnerable groups across Nigeria. Well, in the same vein, an old video featuring former Minister of Education Obi Ezekwesili on British-American broadcaster Mehdi Hassan's 2015 episode of Head to Head discussing corruption during former President Olusegun Obasanjo's administration has resurfaced online. Well, during the interview, Hassan pressed Ezekwesili to respond to claims made by former EFCC chairman Nuhu Ribadu, who alleged that Obasanjo's regime was more corrupt than that of the late General Sani Abacha. Let's take a listen.
But you reject the idea that the Obasanjo government was as corrupt, or not, if not more corrupt, than governments that came before it.
There was no way it could have been more corrupt than the government of Abacha. Okay. I'm sorry.
Do you accept, in hindsight, that that government you were part of, you were basically, no one's ever accused you of corruption personally, but you were basically window dressing for a very corrupt regime? And here today, even today, you won't acknowledge that fact.
Well, you know, I don't know about window dressing. One thing that I was known for was my inability to be an image launderer for anyone. I mean, even the President Obasanjo that you are talking about would tell you that anytime, any day.
Okay, so anytime, any day, this evening, in the Oxford Union, how corrupt was President Obasanjo in your view?
Is that supposed to be a question on the basis of some factual thing that you're putting before me?
I don't have the factual, but you were the woman who worked in government.
Well,
you were nicknamed Madam Due Process.
Well, listen to me, President Obasanjo.
So what did you make of President Obasanjo's record?
Well, my sense of President Obasanjo was that he gave me the freedom to define the work that I did in ensuring that public procurement was more transparent than it used to be.
With respect, if you're not a politician, you should be, because these are not answers to my questions. I asked you, how corrupt is President Obasanjo? How corrupt was he?
And I think
his corruption chief says he was more corrupt than Sani Abacha.
I think
what
your
is
question,
your view? Little bit less corrupt? Little bit more corrupt?
Well, listen
As
to
corrupt.
me. I already said to you that I do not do anything on the basis of anecdotes.
Ayo, over to you. I mean, there, obviously, Kwesili, she didn't really answer the question there about corruption. And we did remember when Nuhu Ribadu made those comments about Obasanjo's regime being the most corrupt in the history of Nigeria, basically. Right. But also juxtapose that with the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, who also is basically towing the same line as her husband, saying that, you know, the era of corruption is over in Nigeria.
Okay. So this conversation started, I think, when President Tinubu had gone, I can't remember the country now, one of his foreign trips. Brazil. Yes. And he had said that corruption is gone. And we had quite a robust debate and conversation around that. Even had his spokespeople come out to clarify what he meant by that. Now, last week, recall that when he was speaking at the opening or the relaunch of the Wole Soyinka Center, he had also advised and encouraged Nigerians in diaspora to speak positively about Nigeria, to not speak negatively. And this week, his wife, the First Lady of Nigeria, has also told that same pattern in the spirit of patriotism, I want to say, are saying that, you know what, when we go abroad, Nigeria is the darling of the world. People want to come here. There's no more corruption. Come and open. This is political speak, and I don't expect the President or the First Lady to say anything different. We've talked about, you know, many times the reality on ground, and the truth is that news and reality it doesn't lie. Beyond that, we also have people who live abroad, who do business in Nigeria, and it's often talked about the way that there's a lot of bureaucracy, corruption. We see the headlines, and I'm sure we have one that we're going to talk about, you know, later on. We have forgery. We have the issue around the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, what happened there, the fact that even though we have announcements of sackings, no probe, no one has been held to account, and the news just disappears. However, despite all these things happening, I do believe that we can speak positively as to what we want to see the nation become without denying the reality on ground. Action speaks louder than words. And so despite the fact that we're going around saying, oh, Nigeria is no longer corrupt, what we want to see is action. We want to see the reality, not just, we can spin the news as much as we want. We can, you know, it can be propaganda galore. But if the reality negates what we're saying, then it's only as long as we can continue with the rhetoric around whether or not Nigeria is corrupt. What we want to see beyond saying, OG, as I wrap up, is this. Can they ensure that under the Tinubu administration, he leaves a legacy of anti-corruption? We have agencies that have been set up that are being funded to ensure this. Let him start from the top, within his own cabinet, within his own people, and the way that, you know, some contracts are given shrouded in secrecy. Can we have more openness? Can the Bureau for Public Enterprise actually work and do what it was set up to do? These are the conversations we should be having. Whilst we want to represent Nigeria well with our voices, let us also see action led by the Tinubu administration so that we can actually see a corrupt-free Nigeria. That is what we all want, but we cannot just continue to spin propaganda.
All right, fantastic. Rufai, before I come to you, let me take a response to Senator Oluremi Tinubu's statement there. This is from Valley, who wrote, corruption didn't vanish because you said so. It's simply rebranded. The only thing that's over is the shame to even deny it. Maybe abroad, they don't call us corrupt anymore. They just call us creative thieves with diplomatic immunity until hospitals stop being death traps, roads stop swallowing cars, and politicians stop swallowing budgets. Don't tell us the era is over. Corruption didn't die. It just got a convoy and security escort. Meanwhile, a major investigation by the Premium Times revealed that Uche Naji, the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, is allegedly a serial certificate forger, having presented counterfeit documents during his ministerial screening. The University of Nigeria, Nsukka, in a letter, officially disowned his Bachelor of Science degree certificate, confirming that Nnaji was admitted in 1981 but did not complete his studies and was never awarded a degree. This finding follows an earlier verdict from the National Youth Service Corps, which similarly could not authenticate the certificate of national service Nnaji submitted, highlighting multiple forensic discrepancies, including an impossible signing date and an incorrect organizational title confirming the document was a forgery. Well, as of now, Uche Nnaji has not responded to this investigation or made any public comments on the report. Well, social media has been awash with reactions, and I'll take Chidi Odinkalu's post on X. He wrote, "In case you missed it, Nigeria's Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Uche Nnaji, forged his degree certificate from UNN, Nigeria." Well, he went on to say, "If that's not innovative, I don't know what is." Another ex-user wrote, "The rhetoric surrounding Uche Nnaji is a sponsored political gimmick orchestrated by the opposition party in Enugu. Those who are spreading fake news about Uche Nnaji will soon face the consequences." That's the same honorable minister whom the PDP Enugu said he didn't graduate from UNN. We have seen this story, Rufy on fire, circulating. It went on fire all weekend after that Premium Times report. I don't know what your thoughts are. We've seen this person here posting a picture of Uche Nnaji allegedly in the university, but the university, according to Premium Times, is saying that he did not graduate.
You see, political actors will always talk. And you know why they talk? Because we have a culture of corruption. Uche Nnaji, in court deposition that was released by Premium Times, was the one himself that said that he did not finish from that school. So, you see, it's part of the corruption procedure. You can bring out a booklet that shows the fact that it was part of graduating set. But the Vice Chancellor was the one that confirmed, because, Oji, do not forget, that a letter was first written by People's Gazette, where the registrar said, oh, truly he went to the school. But that registrar in another public complaints commission in deposition said that was not true. So it was in the deposition that he talked about, court deposition forwarded by Premium Times, that he said that he did not finish from the school. So you see, we have a system. But the bigger question we should ask is, didn't those in President Tinubu's cabinet verify this? That's why it's a shame on President Tinubu's government. Because only recently President Tinubu was saying all the civil servants that have forged certificates, they should be found out. Yeah. So you can see what is coming. So it's a government of a lot of forgery as we speak today. And you wonder, where the security agent, the National Assembly, did he pass through? How did he pass through? This was the same face that they stopped El-Rufai from. They said they had security threats. But they never saw the case of forgery. So that's the politics in the country. Secondly, as regards Garba Shehu, Oji, why I was saying I want to talk about it, I have empirical facts. Garba Shehu did write a piece on November 14, 2012, where he said not accepting to negotiate with Boko Haram could hurt Buhari by Garba Shehu. So what is he saying today? I commend him. He's very loyal. That even in death, he will defend Tinubu, Buhari. But you see, all of this is just political calisthenics. They just want to attack Goodluck Jonathan. And I don't think it was even right for Goodluck Jonathan's rep to have responded, because it was just all political lies Garba Shehu was talking. Enough for that said, there was a faction of Boko Haram that was being used by some politicians that asked Buhari to represent them. The question we should ask is, has Boko Haram also to be politicized? But this was you here in this article defending and saying Buhari should have listened to the clear call of patriotism and nationalism to be able to support the government and take up that position. So what is he saying? You should respond to this fact first. Right. As regards Ononuga, you see, the truth is, that's why I keep telling Nigerians, let's be wary of right-wing nationalism. It's not even about Ted Cruz. There's a particular group called Open Door, a Christian nationalist group that's been pushing this idea that genocide is happening against Christians, which is a very sad one. See, it all happens to all of us. The insecurity in this country affects all of us. Be you Christian, be you Muslim. Yes, like Dr. Abati highlighted, they've been selected cases of church attack and the likes. But we need to remember that it happens to all of us. So it's groups like Open Door. Bill Maher, what Bill Maher quoted was a report from Open Door, And that's why we keep talking about right-wing nationalism, Christian nationalism in America, that, oh, it's only Christians, we know we should support anything against Christians, we should fight them, we want our country back. All of these narratives is not good. But for people like Mr. Onanuga, in as much as I like how he's defending Nigeria, responding to my friend and colleague, Mr. Karoli Komolafe here, that was saying America does not have a right to tell us.
You watched the show yesterday?
Yes, I watched it. I caught it on Sunday morning. With due respect, Mr. Komolafe, they have the right to prognose in our matter. As long as last year they gave over $789 million in aid, and you collected their aid money, they have the rights to prognose in your matter. If you truly want to be sovereign, remove their aid. Don't collect it.
All right.
A nation where the EU is funding most of the presidents around your elections, you say they don't have the right to talk? If you can collect the money, they like to. And that's why our leaders should do better for us, so that we stop relying on this frivolous thing. When the earthquake happened, France tried to give aid to Morocco. The king of Morocco said no. That's a nation that stands tall for its own.
All right. Well, all right. In another development, the Minister of Works, David Mahi, represented by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the commissioning of the 6.7-kilometer Port Harcourt Road and 7 other road projects in Abia State last week, commended Governor Alex Otti for restoring the lost glory of the city and expressed confidence that given the speed of work, the entire state will be fully recovered by the end of Governor Otti's tenure. Governor Otti, in turn, commended President Tinubu, saying that Abia State is partnering with the president.
It is important to note that Mr. President and I have been friends for decades. And I know this president, whatever he wants to do, he will tell you. If he will not do it, he will tell you. And having made promises, I'm sure he will keep his promises. I want to also say that for Abia, we are partnering very closely. And sometimes people don't understand what opposition means. When you are part of a government, either at the national or subnational, you are part of that government. By the time elections are over, political parties take the back seat and governance takes the front seat. So it does not pay for anyone to put himself in a position where he will constitute an opposition, because you can't be opposing yourself.
All right, a lot of reactions trailed that. But speaking about road infrastructure in Edo State, the Bua Group has completed the Ekpoma section of the Auchi-Benin Highway. A new video posted online. The group stated that 80% of the road is now complete. The road, which is fully funded by Bua Group, is being constructed under the federal government's road infrastructure tax credit scheme, a public-private partnership created in 2019. Such great news, great initiative. Finally, we're seeing this sort of initiative come into fruition. Congratulations to the Bua Group and, of course, all of the good works that have been going on in those areas. Dr. Abati, your thoughts also on Alex Otti, really quickly.
Yeah, congratulations to Alex Otti of Abia State. Yeah, well, you know, he's saying that he has been a friend of the president for a very long time and is pledging loyalty to him.
Yes.
Follows the trend.
Yes.
You know, you have many governors across the country from one state to the other saying we support President Tinubu. But it's good to see that what it actually means is that the federal government is also touching the lives of the people in Abia State. And also the Minister of Works, who was there, saying they are looking at the Benin Ekpoma Road.
Yes.
There's also the Benin Wari Road.
Yes.
There are so many other roads. And over the weekend, he was praising the president in terms of infrastructural developments across the country roads. And I think that's in order. That's fine. So